Okay, so we were talking about the thing that there's a gap somewhere between the mentors and the wannabe entrepreneurs, and I would love to ask the same question to Anusha. What do you think? What can we do in order to bridge this gap between the mentors and the wannabe entrepreneurs?
I'd like to say that mentorship is very important. First of
Yeah.
all, no amount of theoretical knowledge can, be equal to any tips given by an experienced person. I'd like to say that building a relationship with a mentor should start from building a relationship with your teacher, or building a relationship with your parents, or building a relationship with your boss or your coworker or a colleague. So any kind of networking that you can make in this in this particular place is always, it always takes a very important role in your life. When you start with your business, anything that is told by an experienced person about the same business will go a long way, will take you a long way. For example, before I started this business, before I started Paudha, uh, I had no idea about plants. I was not a sustainable person. I was I did not know anything about sustainability or zero waste living. So I went and contacted many people who followed sustainable living and zero waste living. And now, due to their experience and the tips that they've given, I myself started following all of these things. And I thought this is a social cause that's close to my heart. So most important thing I would say is, make the first step, take the first step, talk to your mentors, make them your mentor, or ask them all kinds of questions, or um, try to gain as much as you can from any person that you can get. Networking is the most important thing.
Yes, that's true, and I also see that pretty much we are focusing upon schools and colleges, the teachers that they play a role in this. So my next question is aligned with that, and it is for Neha. Neha, I would love to know it from you, like what can be done by the schools and colleges, or what role do schools and colleges play while developing this culture in students?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is what is lacking in schools and colleges in India is teaching soft skills, which will go a long way. So teaching them, how to build self-confidence and public speaking skills, networking skills, team building skills, all of these are really lacking. So I think focusing on these can really take them forward and get them started young. Other than that, we can really host events where students have an opportunity to start building something and discover the process of building, ideating, and reaching out to people. So hosting events like hackathons or think tanks, all of that in schools can encourage them to explore new ideas. Another thing that I remember is when I was in high school, we had this hobby class, and we used to have this hobby class every week, and we could join any of the clubs. Like there was theater, there was dance, there was science club, there was nature club, there was entrepreneur club. So that's a good way to explore. Like you get 3 years to explore 3 different clubs and meet other people and ideate on ideas that you have. So I think that could be a good start with schools.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And I would love to pass on the same question to Aarti. As you said, you're a parent of two kids. What do you think the role would be of schools and colleges in kind of, inculcating this culture in students?
Absolutely. Schooling is the most important part of any human being, growing up. It certainly plays a very important role, and I'm not aware of the current schooling system in India. As I said, I have left India for past 13, 14 years. But when I did my education in India, Yes, it was very much academic driven. If you wanted to do anything different, like, I did my schooling, my university, I was a physio as well in India. So, I did my Visharad and Alankar and Bharatnatyam. So if I were to do my classical training, um, you do it all by yourself, which means it's not part of your education. It is something that you do as a side kick, So it's not part of it. Whereas here, if you took any, let's say someone's doing ballet or classical music or any other
to problems that don't even exist. Right now, it's become like, I want to come up with the new idea. That's never the case. If you look at the biggest companies in the world, it's not the new idea. They've picked an industry which is solving a problem, and they've disrupted a way of doing it. Either if you're getting the garment space, like to give you a perfect example, there's Flipkart and Amazon, right? Myntra started and it still grew. What did they figure? It's the same thing. They say, you know what, how can I create niche in just fashion, right? It's not innovation, but rather it's about thinking, okay, here's a problem, how can I solve it? So I think even with schools, I think it's good for teachers and faculty and professors in practice, especially, to make students understand that, innovation is important. Innovation can also be in the form of a process. Innovation can be in a way of doing something in a more affordable way or better. There's so many ways looking at it. And the best example, Aarti, I want to know your thoughts on this if you know about it, because there's a university, University of Melbourne has an amazing entrepreneurship course where it's a 1-year program where from when you join till the end, each example, every 2 months is a different phase of a business. And when you leave the university, you have a running startup, right? So every 2 months, you're actually building on one part of your startup. And when you eventually get out, you have a working model of a business. And I think that's things like that, where you have hands-on experience and you feel, I think that's something where you really learn.
Yes, that is true. I have read about it, and I've heard about University of Melbourne. Just recently, I have been given a place in Griffith University for MBA, and their curriculum is similar to that as well. They're very much work integrated learning. It's called WIL, and it's all about hands-on, and they give a lot of focus on internships and projects where you can be incorporating your the syllabus or the curriculum is very flexible. In India, the systems of the curriculums are very, even till date, they're very rigid. If you, my brother has done IIM Ahmedabad. He was an MBA from IIM. Even he said that, I was talking to him about internships after I finished my MBA, and he said, you don't have to do internship just in one field, because, I'm from medicine and from arts and entertainment. And when we were speaking about internship, he said you can do multiple internships, because universities abroad do give you that kind of flexibility. Whereas in India, they're not that flexible. You can do internships as many as you want afterwards, but during the course, you still have to abide by whatever the number of subjects or whatever they have. Whereas here, if I chose to do more work integrated learning, I will be supported for that.
Yeah. There's also another question that comes in the perspective is about, the women. So this question is for Shruti, Thakker. What do you feel we can do, or what are those steps that we need to take in order to bring more women in this entrepreneurial culture?
I think women entrepreneur culture, if you really see it, it's there, but it's not in the scale that we assume entrepreneurship to be. If you really see, there are a lot of Gujarati women that already have the achar or the papad business that they're doing locally from their homes. But one thing that I do feel that women in terms of entrepreneurship need is support of the family. Even today, the culture of the Indian society, such as women, the woman has to manage a lot of things. And that is why when it comes to managing a business and a home, or even a job and a home, is usually a difficult kind of a situation. And every one of us can vouch for that entrepreneurship is much harder than working at a job is. So one and foremost thing is support from the family to ensure that, they are able to take that step for me, that was one of my biggest gains. Like my family was rock solid behind me to say that just go ahead and do whatever you want. We're with you, and that makes a lot of difference, not just for the effort that you put in, but emotionally, because then you're less afraid of failure. The second important thing that I feel is, in general, in India, we have the thing that you need to be settled by a certain age, and that sort of puts your plans into jeopardy the moment you decide to be an entrepreneur, because you don't know when is that settled phase you will be. And as entrepreneurs, we know that's never going to be a phase. So in that respect, to accept that whole the whole disarray or the whole storm of things that are coming your way is also important. That you don't need to be settled by an X age or have kids by an X age, which is when you can explore your goals of being an entrepreneur. And third, in a lot of cases, the financial empowerment and also the part where people take women seriously when they're running a non-women based role. Like for example, if a woman entrepreneur chose to do something in engineering, in tech, or in a role that's not conventionally supported for women to accept, because a lot of people don't take women seriously in that regard. So I think maybe some kind of a grooming for women to give them that support and push. And I believe a strong sense of mentoring so that they can take all the challenges and go and work on themselves and their businesses.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And I would love to pass on the same question to Anusha. What do you feel we can do in order to bring more women entrepreneurs in India?
I have this very weird idea. I don't know if a lot of people will accept this or not, but most of the registration processes or making your way over to the bureaucracy happens face to face in India. My idea would be to shift all of this online so that the streamlining or screening process of who is going to apply to be an entrepreneur would be unbiased. So if women start making their effort through to become an entrepreneur and do all of these processes online, then they would not be scared of facing rejection or facing bias from the general public. This is one of my ideas. The other thing would be that they should get all their support. They should get all their support from the family. Like Shruti, Thakker said, I would completely agree. My family has been rock solid behind me. They've always supported me in whatever I do. So these are my ideas.
Okay.
I think if we want more women in business, we need to train more men to accept women.
Agreed.
That's all what I think. We don't need to change anything. We just need to train men to understand that they need to pick up their cup of glass, or and they have to be equally doing things. My husband's an oncologist, and we both leave home at 6 a.m. in the morning, and we both come home at 7 p.m. and we both do everything together. And that's the only way sustainability of a family happens and careers go. So that's how I think.
Yeah, that's equally true. Okay, so moving towards the end, this would be the question for Karthik and Shruti. So when we talk about, as you said,
Yeah. For me initially, fortunately, my parents were very supportive in terms of monetary as well. So they gave me the initial amount of funding that was required to take the startup, take off the startup. But one key thing is you never build there's a lot of people who think that, you build startups to attract investment, you attract one round series A, B, C, D and stuff. But, and a lot of youngsters also think the same thing. But the main mistake here is you don't build startup for investors. You build startups for people, because they are the ones who are spending time on your app or in your platform. And it is what, you need to do it for them. And initial days, you don't have to go all in or high five, doing all the fanciest things you can get. You have to start simple. You have to start small. And that was a huge mistake, which I personally made. we hit the ground running. We had burned a lot of money, and it came to bite us later. On the later stages, it really had a huge problem on us. So wherever whenever I'm talking to people, whenever I'm talking to youngsters, I tell them, start small. You have to start small. There's no other way around it. Wherever you can spend money, think twice. There will be always an alternative where you don't have to really spend money, because initially your time and your passion has to be there than the monetary part of it. So that is what I think. Start small, and then it'll eventually grow big. You need to start small.
And also, it's important that you get your product right. A lot of the time you have a lot of thoughts in your head that this is what I want, and you're not flexible towards getting input from outsiders. And when you don't get the product right, at the end of the day, if you do get an investor that's coming on board, or for Paperboy, for example, we had a lot of interest during the I think when we launched the app. We did get inquiries and such, but we were happy that we didn't take them on board, because we were still trying to figure out what Paperboy had to be. Because if we do get an investment on board, our initial ideas would have been diluted, because again, you need to take in their input and not get the product right. So and there is a certain stage when you do, when your product is right and you want to start looking for investment. And at that stage is where it's important that you have like the mentors that come into place. If you like, for example, if you're just looking out for investments, they're not just going to pop up. You need somebody to connect you to those people. And I think Karthik can just build on this.
Yeah, one thing, you need to position, what your startup is going to be, what is the end going to look like. But since we are talking about, starting at a young age, investment, getting external funding should be the last thing in your mind. First thing, the product should go into the market and people should start accepting the product. That should be your only goal. And eventually when people start using, people will tell you the changes. Like, we need to do this, you need to do that. You need to take in their feedback, change the particular product, or make some minor changes. And eventually investment will come. So never build startups for your investor's sake. And I think Sahaan will understand, because he's definitely an investor. I think that's what I got it from your introduction. So what do you think, Sahaan? Sorry, I'm curious to know his thoughts on this.
Yeah, Karthik, definitely, Karthik. I think what happens is I would never invest in a startup who needs cash. Or, at the end of the day, I don't invest as much. I invest only in the businesses which we can use our expertise in the e-com space to scale. And I would never invest in a business which needs money to start. Any investor looks at the same thing. You always bring in money to scale, never to start. Like, to give you a quick example, right? Like, my grandpa came into this town with less than $100 in his pocket. He built this, in 5 years, he went door to door selling like silk pieces in a basket. And in 5 years, he became one of the top 10 wholesalers of silk in the country. And like, when you understand, you look at stories like that, you always notice that businesses were never built with money put up front, right? You always start small, and then you make those mistakes. You make mistakes cheaply when you can afford it, when you're starting off. And then eventually when things are going fine, that's when you say, okay, you know what, now everything is perfect. I need to replicate the model, and to scale, I need the money. I think that's the best time to pull in cash.
100%.
And even when you get the money in the initial stages, you don't tend to look for the right solutions. Just because you can afford it, you just end up spending times the money, and that's where it goes wrong. So
definitely.
Okay, yeah. Yes, so moving towards the end of this discussion, since a lot of speakers have their commitments already set. So I won't take much of time, and I would just love each one of you to take that one point to, want your viewers to take back from this panel discussion. Just tell me a point that you want your viewers to take back from this panel discussion, starting with Aarti.
If I have to say one thing, I would say if anyone's listening to this, just be at it, keep doing mistakes, and keep finding solutions. We're all just doing a guesswork anyways, waiting for our next apology. So just be at it.
Okay, perfect. Sahaan?
I would say the most important thing is being extremely hungry to learn. And if you're in any business, you need to make sure that you're able to learn and understand that business better than anyone else who can do it.
Okay. Shruti, would you go next? Shruti Thakker.
Thank you. I would like to say that there are just 3 points I want to give most entrepreneurs because that's what they get stuck on: market it and get your customers to buy it. And the third most important thing is network. You need to continually work on building your network and your own brand.
Okay. Shruti.
What I would like to talk about is branding. You can sell anything to anybody, but ensure that you brand your product right. Like you define who you want to sell it to, where you want to sell it to, pricing, everything. Once you figure that out, I mean, that's a very important thing that people miss out on, even the colors of the brand, everything. So, yeah.
Okay. Karthik?
In a single point, what I would like to tell is, keep things as simple as possible. So the problem, the solution, whatever you're trying to search for your problem, keep it as simple as possible. People don't want to spend time understanding your product. So always remember to keep your branding messages or your business, in a single line, and make sure, it's as simple as that. And it's simple to understand.
Okay, perfect. Anusha?
As I started my business during the lockdown, I'd like to say this simple quote: convert calamity into opportunity. So any sort of mistake, any sort of blunder, any sort of problem you have the problem, sell your solution with it. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And Neha?
Yeah, I would say you're never too young or never too old to start anything. So now is the right time. If you have an idea, you want to explore something, just go with it and start right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much and for being on this panel, for taking out your time and for around 15 minutes and for being here. Thank you so much. I hope that was a great discussion and I hope you all had a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us. Thank you.
Yes. And yeah, we'll be sure to let you know, like when this will go up on our social media and everything. We'll be sure to send you the link when it's up. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.